So let's go ahead and pick up kind of where we left off at, only we're going to talk more in this video about what if you make a mistake. So let's say that we're still dealing with this plant from the last video. We haven't quite identified it yet. We went ahead and put in all of our characteristics. We got down to 6, but we want to identify it further. We don't want to leave it at just 6. We want to go one step further and try to identify another characteristic. So let's say that I look at this plant. I say, hey, look, it looks like those plants are kind of going up. That the stems are kind of going up at an erect aspect. So I'm going to go ahead and say, maybe I'm going to say something like the stems are erect or ascending. And I say matching taxa. So I scroll down and look at my new list. And then I go through each one of these. And we went through these on the last video because it's just paring it down from these 6. And we know that none of these are it. We can go through each one of those pictures and say, man, none of these look right. None of these look like our plants over here. So we know we went too far. We clicked the wrong characteristic of some kind. So we need to go ahead and get rid of it. Now we know that all of these original ones, these first 7 or 8, all of these worked because we knew that our plant was somewhere in there. So we know that 18 was what kind of set us apart. This stems are erect, or they're erect, or they're, what was the rest of that? Or ascending. So we need to get rid of that. Well, we can go ahead and hit reset and start all over. Or we can get rid of just that characteristic. To get rid of just that characteristic, we're going to click on this R. And it's going to get rid of that last characteristic and bring up our original list. So we say, well, we know that that wasn't it. We thought it was a characteristic, but it obviously was not. So we need to go back and try to identify something else. So one thing that I notice is that on these inflorescence, all of these inflorescence come from a single point or a single node, every single one of them. And it kind of comes out almost like a hand, right? So let's go ahead and pull off of that and go with that aspect. And let's look at these inflorescence. And let's say that these inflorescence are inflorescent, a panicle with dignately arranged spicate branches. Here we go. Inflorescence branched, paired, or digitate at a single node point, or a single node. So it looks like we're coming off of a single node, but we don't really know what this word means. At least I'm not 100% sure. So let's go ahead and look it up. Shaped like a spread hand. So let's look at that plant. It kind of looks like it's shaped like a spread hand. So let's spread our hand out. So it kind of looks like it's coming off of one point and it's kind of going out. So let's try that one. So we click right there. We say matching taxa. And it gets us down to that one point. So, but if we mess up, if we know that, hey, this isn't the right characteristic, we can always just remove 1 or 2. So what I would encourage you to do is get 4 or 5 main ones to start off with. Ones that you know are the case. Like, for example, it's a perennial. We can see some stolons in there, so that's an easy one. Stems with inflorescence are less than 1 meter tall. That was going to be an easy one because I know this is a pretty short grass just from seeing it in the past. The leaf sheath mostly open. We can see that right there. If this is a short grass, but in comparison, we know that the leaf blades are going to be fairly narrow. And let's start with there, and then let's add 2 or 3 more taxa, or two or three more characteristics on each time to start identifying. And if we get to a list, keep paring down our list, but if we get to a list where we know nothing's on there, we can take them off and add them in there. And then whenever you get done with all that and you're ready to look at the last part, we can just hit reset or restart to go on to the next plant. Another kind of interesting aspect is we can say describe remaining taxa. So let's actually do this real quick in a different scenario. Let's remove this last one, and we're left with our original 6 that we're wondering about. We can say describe remaining taxa, and then this is going to show us all the characteristics that are going to be on that plant. So we can actually use this to help identify which plant and pare it down a little bit more. So for example, this one right here, the second one on our list, it's an aquatic plant or grown in or on water. And we're not seeing much water in these pictures. I mean, pictures are deceiving. We're not seeing that. So we could probably knock that one off looking at the taxa. Like this one again is an aquatic plant. Let's lock that one off. We can start going through here and identify differences between like this one and this original one as well. And we can look at these matching taxa or describe remaining taxa and really try to identify and use that to help identify these plants as well. And whenever you're done and ready to go on to the next plant, you just click reset, and it's going to bring up that original amount or that original plant list and allow you to completely start over. It gets rid of all of your different characteristics, and you can start over and start from scratch. So those are some kind of additional tricks to help you kind of navigate this website as you're looking at these characteristics. Start with a few characteristics that you know, and then add a couple more, and then add a couple more, and then add a couple more. And if they reduce your list too much, take a couple away and add some different ones, and keep playing with it. Another key thing to do is use this lookup button and familiarize yourself with these. If you're not sure what a part is or what it means, use the lookup, research it, Google it to really try to dive into identifying these different parts of these plants.